This episode of That's Not the Finish has been powered by Bodyslam.net.
You are listening to That's Not the Finish podcast, a no-holds-barred pro wrestling podcast perfect for getting your wrestling fix. Now get ready to call for the 3 count. 1, 2, 3. And try not to get DQ'd. Because here are your hosts.
Welcome to another episode of the That's Not the Finish podcast. So today we are going to be having a little Elimination Chamber discussion, and then we are going to go over, is it really Kofi Kingston's time to shine finally? And then we're going to go over D-Generation X, DX being inducted into the Hall of Fame, and we're going to have a little discussion on the new Daniel Bryan. So, Dom, how did you like Elimination Chamber overall?
I mean, overall, I thought it was a good pay-per-view. I mean, it wasn't the best pay-per-view, but it had a lot of great moments, a lot of like standout moments. Like the women's tag title match was awesome. That was still like great to see finally. The Finn Balor winning the Intercontinental Championship, I was expecting to happen only because it's like, all right, he's not going for the Universal title right now. Like, they kind of pushed him out of that picture again. So I'm like, all right, I guess let's just hold him over with the IC title for now until, like, we can bring him back in, which, like, sucks. I mean, he still deserves the Universal title. And, like, the IC title is not a fucking filler belt, but that's, like, how they're trading it, basically.
Yeah, definitely.
But, then... No, go.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking that the women's tag team elimination match, I was actually kind of surprised that it was so early on in the show, wasn't it? I was kind of hoping that would be maybe the co-main event, like how they normally have been having the women's matches, or at least the main event.
Yeah, I didn't think that would be so early in the show either. I mean, I get they had to space out the chamber matches, and yes, I mean, it's not as big as the heavyweight title match, so they had to put it on early. So, but still, it's like,
yeah, but I would have honestly just put it in the mid card somewhere. That's some of of importance, because it is the tag team titles.
Yeah,
just, I guess, groundbreaking for them. Even though historically speaking, there have been women tag team champions, not in the WWE, but in the realm of wrestling.
Yeah.
But they really should have where and I know we're gonna discuss this later, but I honestly feel like what they did with the women's title match with Ronda Rousey and Ruby Riott, that if that was the case, that should have started Elimination Chamber and then bump the women's tag titles into the mid card, even though they don't, I guess the women's belt. Go ahead.
The major issue, I think, it was trying to space out the chamber matches. I think they just didn't want to have the chamber matches so close together.
Yeah.
And when you're dealing with a card that small, it's kind of tough to fit them all in that way.
And you also got to remember that it's the crowd's hot as the show begins, so I think that WWE wants to keep and have that feel-good moment to start the show off. So they don't want to, start the show off on a negative. They want to start the show off on a positive. So I think that's. They could have put the card in the middle if they wanted to, but I think that's why they did it, just to kind of get that culmination and that feel-good moment for the fans.
Definitely the crowd's hot in the beginning and then more towards the end. So I think that they kind of learned some of their learn from some of their mistakes with some of their other pay-per-views, because previously they were hoping that some of their matches were going to be more hyped up, and then actually the crowd wasn't so hot during some of their matches that they were having. So I think here they had they saved Baron Corbin versus Braun Strowman to before the main event, in a sense, so that the crowd could save their energy.
Just go with the bathroom, you know what I mean? Pretty much.
Yeah. But I overall thought that the women's chamber match. Did you think that Sasha and Bayley were going to win the tag team titles and become the first WWE tag team champions, or did you have your money on somebody else?
I've been saying it since even the speculation of the tag titles that they were going to be the first team to win the titles.
Yeah, most people thought so.
It was very obviously that's the way they were pushing them with them breaking up, reforming. It's like, they're going to give them the gold as soon as it comes available. But
it also just kind of seemed like they had the more like solid synergy, like the more solid tag team, like out of the other ones that were there. Like, other than like maybe like the Iconics and the Riot Squad, like I could see Nia, Jackson, Tamina, like, they just kind of like formed up in a sense like for this. And I think like Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville, like eventually they're probably going to separate. And same thing with Carmella and Naomi. I think it was just like a temporary thing. But Bayley and Sasha have been like friends for like a really long time. And I think that, they've had like this partnership, like this, like they got each other's back for so long that obviously it was, a good choice to have them as the first tag team champions.
Well, honestly, I think the other reasons because they've given the women. I mean, they've given Bayley and Sasha pretty much like the forefront of the women's revolution per se. Because it's in NXT they gave them the first women's ladder match, and then the first. I could be wrong. I think it was the first women's ladder match or the first
Iron Women match.
That's what it was, yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So they gave them that, and now on the main roster, you knew that Bayley. Honestly, in my opinion, she was stale. She needed a revive in her gimmick. Sasha was put into these stupid little angles that made no sense whatsoever, and what a better way to kind of revitalize both gimmicks than to give them the championship. And like Dom said, you saw the writing on the wall once the rumors started speculating how they would just break up, get back together, break up, get back together, break up, get back together. And honestly, I feel that they're more focused with Becky and Charlotte. I think they're more focused on their respective angles to give them that, whereas Bayley and Sasha felt like that just fit in, from a storyline aspect.
Yeah, I also think it's just that they have to start. I mean, like obviously they have to start maybe developing some of these other tag teams, like their storyline in a sense, and start to have them like evolve a bit more over time. Because like obviously to me it felt like Bayley and Sasha Banks were like they were already like people respected them as a team. But I think that some of these other teams that we have right here, I think if Ruby Riott was somehow involved in this tag team match, I think maybe they could actually be maybe her and Liv Morgan could be more of like a tag team in a sense.
I would have enjoyed personally if they had Ruby win the women's title and then the Riot Squad win the tag titles
to dominate the women's division.
Just take the women's division. But
I think honestly that's what they're going to do for WrestleMania, is that they're going to have the 4 horsewomen have their respective championships. You got Becky on what was it? Becky's on SmackDown, Charlotte's on Raw, or the other way around.
Becky, they're both potentially going to be on Raw now.
Yeah.
If they go into the triple threat match with this.
Well, I still think somehow, some way, they will get a way to get Charlotte back on. I mean, then again, You
mean Becky?
I mean, no, I want Charlotte on SmackDown. And have Becky on.
Because Charlotte is the one in the main event right now, and Becky is the one out.
Okay. But I'm saying from WrestleMania, from Fastlane to WrestleMania, they can work something where one hops into the other show and then, do like a quick thing, even though it'd be like the worst booking ever. And it's WWE, so it kind of goes right up there.
Yeah, that's typical.
So I think that there's some way that they would create Bayley and Sasha as the tag team, and Charlotte Raw or SmackDown, Becky Raw or SmackDown. I mean, with the triple threat match, I don't know how they're gonna do it, but somehow, some way, like if that's. I personally wish that's the route they took. Have Becky win it, face Asuka, and give Becky the title back. Charlotte's on Raw. Boom. That's it. But I was actually happy that it wasn't Ruby winning, and it wasn't, anyone in the Riot Squad. And then nothing against them, but I feel like it just wasn't time yet. For Ruby, it wasn't time yet. I mean, she's a phenomenal talent. She's been in the industry for how many years? But, it just didn't feel right at this moment.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't feel right, but you can't job her out in 2 minutes. I mean, come on.
I know that.
That was ridiculous.
I told my coworker, I said, honestly, if you want to watch women's wrestling from 2010, you're gonna want to watch the Ruby Riott and Ronda Rousey match. I said it was essentially a piss break. That's all it was.
Yeah, totally. I think that with the Riot Squad, I think that they all have phenomenal talent, and I think that right now they definitely, like, you could see that they are really going to start coming up soon and getting a lot more, like, possibly, like what Dom said, maybe even like taking over, like all the women's titles, including the tag championships, and along with the women's title. I just don't think it's the right time right now, but I think that they are definitely going to get there. But like the whole jobbering out thing. Like just previously on Raw, Ruby Riott actually went up against Ronda Rousey, and I think that match was probably a lot better compared to what was going on with Elimination Chamber. But no, like, she definitely has like the talent, and like what she like. I guess like if she is like going up against like a much stronger opponent, she always has like the other members there, Liv Morgan, Sarah Logan, to back her up. So it's always like something there that Ruby Riott has, and I think that she's going to eventually become a much bigger threat on the Raw roster. So yeah, like kind of moving on here. So the Usos, this was the third match of the night, but the Usos actually wound up defeating The Miz and Shane McMahon for the tag titles. But there was something kind of odd about this. So it was that, Dom, I think it was who? Jimmy got arrested? Jimmy got arrested. Yeah,
Jimmy Uso was arrested over the previous weekend for starting a fight with a police officer after Naomi was pulled over. And I mean, first of all, just the fact that he was drunk and Naomi got pulled over and he starts a fight with a cop for no reason. It's like, come on, dude. Like, there's no point in that. Like, what are you getting yourself? Like, how is that helping you? But I mean, I don't know. I really did not expect him to win the title, like them to win the titles in this match. I mean, I honestly thought they were going to get pulled from the match in the first place. I mean, this isn't Jimmy's first incident, like, being arrested. He's been arrested on other alcohol, like, involved incidents before. So it's like, you would think eventually, like, something's going to come to it with that. But it's like, all right, he gets arrested, and then you're going to give him the tag titles? Like, I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
I mean, I heard rumors that they were trying to get released, Naomi and Jimmy Uso. And I don't know if it's done out of spite or if that was part of their booking, but the whole AEW thing is kind of playing a hand in this right now. So maybe giving them the belts.
So you're saying WWE gave them the championships to punish them?
No, well...
Man,
how dare you try to leave? Take your titles. You're staying here and you're not moving.
All right, we're going to give you the title.
In a sense.
Like,
that was the case. Then Zack Ryder should have been Universal Champion by now.
Well, you got me there.
Oh, so that's why Triple H got so many heavyweight titles. He was doing them roids. You want to pop the juice? You get those titles. I mean, so when I first heard this, I was kind of with a lot of people on that. Just this was it for the Usos, that they weren't either that they were getting pulled for the match, or that they were not even going to like even be like in a lot of matches or even shows and like be suspended, or maybe even just like be jobbering like on the roster for a while. But instead, they actually just get the titles, and everybody was like, "What, really?" And it was just really strange.
It also doesn't make sense in the storyline as well. Like they just give Miz and Shane the tag titles, and then you have him drop it immediately. Like I haven't had a chance to watch SmackDown from yesterday, so I don't know if they resolved that issue. But I mean, it just doesn't make sense. Why you have him win the titles with that big story and then just drop the belts immediately? It's like, well, why even bother with the storyline?
Yeah, exactly. I felt like it was way too soon for them to drop the titles. I felt like it just didn't really make sense for them to do it at that time. I mean, I don't know if it's going to like start to play into something else and if they're going to win the titles back eventually.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see where they go from here. It's still early, but it's just WWE booking 101.
Yep, WWE booking 101.
Well, the thing is, I feel like they're trying to have the Miz, and you know this is going without no spoilers because just like you, I didn't watch SmackDown last night, but I think that they're probably going to set up an angle of Miz and Shane at WrestleMania. Like that was the rumor going in for the last few months.
And that was
what?
That was what I was like expecting from the whole beginning of the storyline as well. It was like that the basis of the storyline makes sense of Miz just randomly turning into a good guy out of nowhere, like without a major drawback at the end.
Well, also remember, and you know, this is obviously during the time of our recording, but we've got over 35 days left until WrestleMania. Yeah. So they have more than enough time to kind of start, spreading seeds of dissension between the two. All you need is really a good month of, good booking, and you've got yourself a good WrestleMania match. But I know I just said good and booking, and there's some that WWE never does good, hand in hand.
Can you even use those two words in a sentence with WWE?
No,
booking.
Not really.
Probably not.
It's good. WWE sucks at booking because AEW's taking over. That's the only time you can use those two words in the same sentence.
Mm-hmm.
There we go.
Yeah.
And then we also had the matchup following right after that, which was Finn Balor versus Bobby Lashley and Lio Rush. Lio Rush just got thrown in there somehow. A lot of people have been waiting for Finn Balor to win another title since he was the first ever Universal Champion. And they even said on Raw just this past Monday, he's been clawing his way back up to actually getting a title. And now that he's finally done it, it's the Intercontinental title, and he was able to beat both Bobby Lashley and Lio Rush. But I think that this came after just so many fans wanted to see Finn Balor actually hold the title and just wanted him to get pushed, that eventually Vince was like, okay, fine, I'm going to make it happen. But I think that, with the way that they kind of did it here with Bobby Lashley and Lio Rush, and with Finn Balor pinning Lio Rush, it was a little bit strange how that kind of unfolded there, instead of just having Finn and Bobby go one-on-one.
Well, no, it's not 100% weird because, when you have Finn Balor, who Vince sees as a small guy, and you have Bobby Lashley, who has never won a major title in WWE. He's a bigger guy, and they threw Lio Rush in because if Finn beats Leo, then you have Bobby still looking strong, like what you said, Dom. In wrestling, that's what they do. In order, for example, one of our predictions was Finn Balor loses by DQ. That's another way you can get your babyface to win without making your heel look bad. Like in the past with WrestleMania 31, I think it was Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar. They had Seth pin Roman, so Brock, 1, loses the title, and 2, still looks strong in the process of losing his belt. And that's pretty much all they did. It was booking 101.
Yeah, exactly. And, just having Bobby Lashley still look strong here in relation to somebody that, Vince would kind of like deem is, I guess, in a way, like just not worthy of beating.
But it also
Bobby
doesn't help Finn's case at all. I mean, Finn, we all know Finn is good. Like, it doesn't, like, they don't really need to beat the Bush on this one, I feel. Like, eventually we're going to have to start seeing Finn Balor beat these big names people like Bobby Lashley and stuff like that. So why are they selling us short about right now?
I think it's just that they really just aren't ready for Bobby Lashley to take a loss like that yet. I think that eventually it's going to happen, but I think because Finn, I mean, then again, like what you just kind of said, like it makes a lot of sense too, because Finn Balor went up against Brock Lesnar, and he, even though like Lesnar did throw him around, like he actually did really good against Brock Lesnar. Now, like I know it's like the WWE universe here, but is Bobby Lashley supposed to be better than Brock Lesnar in a sense? Like
no,
here.
But here's the thing: with Finn Balor, you had two styles of wrestling with Finn Balor. With Brock Lesnar, he was pretty much quick and to the point, whereas Bobby Lashley, he was a little more methodical. So that's why there was two forms of Finn Balor that we saw without the Demon King gimmick. You had him, same thing with AJ Styles. AJ Styles went up against Brock Lesnar, and, they told the story of a guy trying his hardest, still losing, but trying his hardest and knocking the beast down by a bit. Same thing with Finn Balor. He brought down the beast lower than before. Now, does that mean Bobby Lashley is better than Brock Lesnar? Absolutely not. But, because the thing is, Brock Lesnar, even though it's been some time, he still has like that little glimmer of aura still that he beat the Undertaker's streak. He still is the guy that broke the streak. And with that little glimmer left, it's the thing is, when you book something to that degree, you have to make that person larger than life. Somehow, some way, larger than life. If Braun Strowman did it, it would be too much because he's way too OP. For those that aren't gaming, for our fans, which they probably are, but to our non-gaming fans, OP means overpowered. And if Braun Strowman was over OP, there ain't no one that's taking that title away from him. Brock Lesnar, it's a little more believable. And, I think that's what we're seeing right now is that Brock Lesnar is being knocked down a few pegs so that aura can go away, so that now instead of the Beast Incarnate, it's Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, so what Vince basically did was when he was editing Brock Lesnar in WWE 2K19, he basically just moved all those stats over to the right, just buffed everything, and he basically just gave Brock Lesnar the ability to use his finisher whenever he wanted. Dave, what do you think here?
Well, I'll say this: I'm a pretty big Finn Balor fan, so seeing him actually win a belt and not in the fashion he wanted, where he beat Leo Rush, I mean, I would prefer Lashley, but like you guys said, they're protecting Lashley. And I think they'll have a better output with this once WrestleMania comes with Finn Balor and Bobby Lashley. So I think we'll see a rematch for sure in the coming future.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that eventually Lashley and Finn one-on-one is going to happen. And then, from then on, we'll probably maybe see Finn Balor, knock down a big guy like Bobby Lashley. Then we have we're just gonna go on ahead and we're just gonna go to the main event here. But yeah, we got Daniel Bryan retaining his title against AJ Styles, Jeff Hardy, Kofi Kingston, Randy Orton, and Samoa Joe. And this here was the Elimination Chamber match, the main event of the night. So what'd you guys think of this main event here? Dom, what's up?
Yeah, I thought honestly, this was the best Elimination Chamber match they've had in a long time, in my opinion. I mean, yes, the past few were still good, but I feel like none of them really had those like standout moments like this one had. I mean, you had when Kofi came into the match, he just immediately just started killing it, and he just took the whole match to a whole new level. I mean, you had the whole hidden drama from him. Like, is he actually going to be able to pull this off? I mean, we all knew he wasn't actually going to win, but there's still that 0.1% chance that they was going to win.
I have to disagree on that one. I mean, this match was definitely a really good match. Definitely, like you said, one of the best that we've seen in the last few chamber matches. But the storytelling that they did towards the end, that made you think. Like I even was.
Well, yeah.
I stood there and I said to myself, I was like, "There's no way he's gonna win. You gotta be kidding me!" And then when he kicked out of I think it was the Shining Wizard, and then he got out of the Lavelle lock, I was like, "Wait a minute, there may be a slight chance." And then
There may be hope.
I think, yeah,
And pull the trigger.
I think, what was it? Did he hit Trouble in Paradise? And I was
He
like,
did.
no way. Yeah. I was like, this, no way. I can't believe it. No way. And like, I got so hyped. And then
Well, yeah, I'm
I'm
saying they still managed to play that off.
Mhm.
oh yeah,
And that's what was great about it. Like we all, like I'm saying, we all knew it was like that 0.1% that he would actually win, but we all bought into that 0.1%
yeah.
like so hard the way they booked it, and that's why
And
it was great.
I gotta give Dan props. He's like a psychic of some sort, because in his prediction he said Daniel Bryan, but Kofi's really gonna stand out.
Mhm.
And that was obviously before the before Elimination Chamber, and that was some type of wizardry.
Well, that was
Well,
Dave, right?
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing, though.
Was that
So-
Dave? I thought that
It was
Dan.
Dave, and Dave
it was
also
me.
called
I
called
called
the
One of the
interference in the Braun Strowman match as
I
well.
called the finish. Yeah.
Yeah. Dave was calling the finish.
Well, you're calling
That's not the finish.
Here's like the thing though with what was leading up with Kofi, how like I could like how like I was just kind of getting this sense here that he was going to like be like a like just like outshine everybody, and potentially this was going to lead to bigger things for him. They were just starting to like have Kofi go up against, like, if you remember in the Gauntlet match, Kofi was like taking out almost everybody, and there was like this like a Kofi Kingston we haven't seen in like a long time.
Well, I mean, he did take everybody out because
Yeah.
he won the match, so
Yeah.
there's that.
I mean, like he was just like just destroying like a lot of he was just like Wait, in the Gauntlet match before
Yeah.
Elimination Chamber.
He won.
Yeah.
He had to win the Gauntlet match to get into the match, so he had to take everyone out.
Oh,
Exactly.
okay. I thought because I thought that, like, why was because I thought that Big E and Xavier Woods was like helping him back to helping him to the back or something. Like I thought he lost.
Wait, the Gauntlet match?
Yeah,
That
before Elimination Chamber. I thought that he was already in it because Mustafa Ali got had to be taken out.
Yeah, he was his replacement. He didn't win the Gauntlet match.
Yeah, no, he didn't win
Yeah,
the
yeah,
Gauntlet
yeah.
match.
Yeah.
But
Kofi won the Gauntlet match to get into Elimination Chamber. He loses. The New Day consoled him after he lost.
no, but this was like on. Like this was on like on
No.
SmackDown like before that. Dave, like he didn't win the Gauntlet match, did he?
You're confusing the two
No, no,
people
no,
that
no.
haven't seen the Gauntlet match. That's
No.
why.
Okay. Then, like, don't worry.
I'll,
About
I'll
it.
admit.
Okay.
I was trying
Okay.
not to admit it. I haven't seen the Gauntlet match yet.
Okay,
I'm watching
so-
it right after
whatever.
after we get off. The
It's not even.
podcast.
No, it's.
But
whatever.
I had just automatically assumed that the Gauntlet match was to get him into the match.
No, they just
like,
put it
from-
in.
Yeah, the Gauntlet match was basically just for the winner gets the last spot into the Elimination Chamber, the last entrant.
That's
what that was.
Wait, so if the winner was the person to get the last entrant,
But
wouldn't
then how
it
come
be
he
him?
didn't win?
Well, they get the last spot. They come in the chamber last.
Oh,
it wasn't
yeah,
Kofi
was that
in
they
this
come into
sense.
the-
There was
yeah, yeah.
right.
I thought that if they got the last spot, they would be first. But I guess
No.
that's
Not in this sense.
No. I was like,
Okay.
wait a second.
Yeah, see.
Yeah. So what happened was that
Figuring
Kofi
things
was
out
being
now.
consulted by Big E and Xavier. Like they helped him out because he like knocked
Mhm.
off like a bunch of guys, and he almost made it, I think, to like the finals.
Okay.
And
I
it was
apologize.
Orton
Yes,
that,
yes.
that won.
You are right on that sense.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
So what happened was just like the way that they were playing it up, like Kofi was just like this unstoppable force for a while, and if you heard like on commentary, they were saying like we haven't seen this Kofi Kingston since like I don't know, like 2011 or something, like when he was doing like an Intercontinental Championship reign. And it's true, like he's been with the New Day, and I mean he's been phenomenal with them, but you just haven't seen Kofi by himself, who back in the day was like, he was a pretty big star. And he's held like quite a few single title runs, but we haven't seen that yet. So there's been like this whole thing. Like, is it now Kofi's time to shine and have like a WWE Championship, run?
I think this is probably the hottest Kofi Kingston has been in his entire career.
I'd agree.
That the New Day elevated him to someone that was just used for the Royal Rumble, for those cool, spots that he saves himself to get eliminated in the most corniest of ways, to becoming one of the most dynamic and memorable trios in a long time. And I think going into, I think somehow, some way, and Dom, do me a favor, take your headphones off. Take your headphones off, please. I'm going to spoil the main event of SmackDown right now.
That's fine. Go ahead. I'm gonna watch it anyway.
Okay, so Kofi Kingston. Dave, did you watch SmackDown?
I saw it, yes.
Dom? I mean, not Dom. Damn you guys with your Ds. Damn.
The 3Ds. We have been called. Yes, I did see SmackDown.
Okay. So Kofi Kingston, spoiler alert to anyone that hasn't watched it, and I think this show is going to air, but Kofi Kingston essentially wins to go to Fastlane. And I think that he's going to win the title. I honestly think he's going to do it as transitional champion, though. I think they'll give him his moment, but he's just going to be transitional, and that's it. I hope I'm wrong, but I think that's the route that they're going to take.
Yeah, I think that if Kofi was to get the WWE title, I'm also kind of thinking in a sense, like, what is going to happen with the New Day? Like, is he going to keep them around with him, or is he going to become more of like a heel champion in a sense, like that he's going to want to try to just go his own way? And what I was thinking, when I saw him actually get escorted out of the gauntlet match before the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view, I was thinking that he was going to be pissed for a bit because he got so close to actually winning this big match, but he wound up being unable to do it, that I thought that he was going to like push Big E and Xavier away. And I think that like it doesn't happen always, but I feel like sometimes when you start to see this more aggressive superstar, when they actually win the title, sometimes they go back, like sometimes they turn on their partners of the stable that they've been with. Now, I mean, the thing here is that the New Day is so popular, and the New Day is so over with the fans and everything. Like, I don't know if they would just break them up like that. I just don't feel like that's going to happen. But then again, you never know, because sometimes stuff just has to go the way that it's going to go. But they can make Kofi into a bigger heel that way by having him win the title and then actually have him betray like the two people that have always been with him too. So to make him even more of like a dislikable character in a sense.
Well, I think they're actually going to push. I think the talk was after the New Day's done and over that they were going to push Big E. I think that's where they were going. So this would be perfect.
Well, I think with the group like the New Day, you can keep them together and keep Kofi as champion if they want to go that route. However, I do think if they wanted to break them up, it wouldn't be Kofi that would be turning heel. I think it would be Big E and Xavier making the turn on Kofi, because they're jealous that he's getting the spotlight turn, like the push, and then like you would see them like turn on him, and then Kofi stays face as champion. And that's also another way that you can push Big E as well, is you push Big E off of Kofi, and then
I think that they would probably, I would say they would do it like the Shield. They would have Big E attack Kofi and then attack Xavier.
And that's also how you push Big E in the singles run as well.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Because,
if they go that route, they could do that. Yeah.
exactly, because like I can see Big E more as a heel than I can see him as a face, and then his narrative can also be that he wants to be taken more seriously.
Yeah.
But I mean, there also has been multiple times where Kofi says, as soon as New Day is done, that's when he's leaving. So I mean, there's that to take into consideration as well.
Yeah.
Like the whole reason he said he stayed with the company was because he was like having so much fun with the New Day, and he got a new breath of life with the New Day.
Well,
And he said multiple times, once New Day's over, I'm done.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
I
they
mean,
can
he was able to like express himself more in a different way instead of being like this big like brute guy. That
Well,
he was
here's
able
the
to
thing.
be more fun.
You can have Kofi. You can have Kofi go after. I mean, you can have Big E go after them both. Have Big E face Kofi, and have a retirement match, and that's how you finish off Kofi's career. And then you get more heat on Big E because he, as hot as Kofi is, he would get more heat and hated if he was to turn his back on his best friends and retire each one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely true. I think it's just something that we're just going to have to ultimately see what happens if Kofi does win the title. So, the other question here is, with Kofi finally starting to catch some spotlight here, more like, individually, what do you think? Like, why did it take him so long to actually start getting to get noticed by the WWE and to actually start getting this push?
Booking.
Yeah, it's just honestly that's the biggest answer here is booking. Vince doesn't like to push guys that don't have the quote unquote look of a champion. And I mean, Kofi's an average build guy. He's not extremely muscular, he's not extremely brawny, and he's not also a really small guy that you can push as the underdog as well. So he's just kind of been stuck in a spot where he can't be, I guess, what's
he's
the right
too
word?
average in a sense. Like, he's
And
just too average.
It's also the gimmick they gave him. When he started, he was like this Jamaican guy.
Yep.
And then, it was like a comedy.
He not Jamaican no more, man.
And the accent left too.
Yeah, he magically dropped the accent.
Yeah.
Hey guys, I'm actually not Jamaican. Sorry.
It's like, what?
But I mean, yeah, it was just bad booking and not getting the opportunities that he deserved. I mean, it sucks because we know that he's always had the potential to put on great matches and always been able to do great stuff, but they only use him for the Royal Rumble moments, and that's about it. And it's it sucks to see him just that's the Royal Rumble's coming up, we're gonna get to see Kofi Kingston shine again. But then you don't get to see anything else from him for the rest of the year. It's
Yeah, I mean, Kofi, throughout his career has been mostly a mid-card guy. I mean, he's won more of the multiple-time United States champion, multiple-time Intercontinental champion. So, yeah, they'll use him in the Rumble for his spots. They use him for ladder matches and high spots and stuff like that. But I mean, to see him have a run like this, actually get a one-on-one match with the belt is really good. And it's WWE has just, look at the potential this guy has now. I mean, the crowd's behind him. I mean, he could do it. At Fastlane, he could definitely do it.
All right, well, let's see. We'll definitely be watching and see if it's Kofi Mania. I think that they just Kofi Mania.
I'm just gonna say that he is what Daniel Bryan was in 2014. If they were smart, they would give Kofi the title.
Do you think
it's funny because I had.
What?
Do you think he'll have the
I
same
had put
traction
this
as
at
Daniel
one
Bryan
of
did?
the points that I wanted to discuss as well. I mean, do you think? But the issue is the WWE Universe here.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think they're actually going to stick behind him as they did with Daniel Bryan? Like, I don't know if the fans are going to stay with him. Like, I would love to see it personally. I really hope that they actually do.
Yeah.
But
I think
is he going to be able to pick up the same momentum that Daniel Bryan was able to pick up?
I don't think he would be able to have that amount of I guess pop. I don't think he would ever get that like hot, but I think he would get close to it. You know, I don't think he would go, where if I don't think that if he was in the Royal Rumble, and going, prior to, if he was this high going into the Royal Rumble, and then like, I don't know, Alberto Del Rio came up as a surprise entrant and Kofi didn't, I don't think they would boo him out. But I think that he would be relatively close to that type of that amount of I guess
like
support.
Hype. Yeah. Support.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So Dave, you think that he would get the same amount of traction or like close to it in a sense? You sound like that was a difficult question.
Yeah, I think he should get close to that. I mean, what Daniel Bryan went through, a few years ago with his yes movement. I mean, that was something in itself. So I mean, Kofi has the fans behind him. It's just a matter of if they give him the belt, then how long would he keep it up? I mean, we'll see. It's up in the air at this point. So
it's all dependent on the WWE universe, and it also depends on what crowds they take the shows to for the next few weeks as well.
Yeah,
like
true.
From the Rumble and leading on, because they had this past Monday, which was a dead crowd for all these great moments that they had.
That was terrible,
and it killed it. And so it's like all it takes is one crappy crowd to kill momentum for a superstar.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's ultimately going to, determine, the fans' reaction and just what WWE decides to do with him. I think that they, I think that he can get a lot of hype, and I think a lot of people could get behind Kofi Kingston. But I think that, it's just really going to determine like whatever the WWE is going to basically do and go with him. I mean, hopefully it just won't be like this is going to be a temporary thing, and then you're not going to ever see it again.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I hope. So we actually had a Hall of Fame induction and announcement in a sense, and it was for D-Generation X. So how do you feel about DX finally getting into the Hall of Fame? I feel old. I feel so old right now. God damn it, DX is in the Hall of Fame, man.
Yeah, right.
I feel like how Road Dogg looks.
Oh God.
I feel like how Road Dogg looks.
I don't support that comment in any way. That is solely on Dan Wise's interpretation. We here at That's Not the Finished podcast support that claim.
You can also give out my address and then see what happens.
He lives at 142 Sycamore Lane.
At least the hounds.
Going to be showing up to your house soon.
At least the hounds.
Like, I'm old.
I better run up being doxxed by my own podcast. But yeah, I mean, the big thing here that I was like, what about, is that a lot of people wanted China to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. And now it's like, okay, you're getting China, but you're getting these other guys with her.
Yeah, I think she definitely needs a solo entry. Like, it's a great stepping stone. It's a great start. Yes, you're inducting her, but she deserves a solo entry, and bringing her in as part of DX, it doesn't prove all that she's accomplished in her career.
True, but they also had a problem. Like I think Triple H actually covered this, that the hard thing about China, no pun intended, but the hard thing about China was that, they want to induct her into the Hall of Fame, but the problem is you got 10-year-old kids who now can access the internet, and they look up China WWE, and they're worried that the first thing they see is all the stuff that she did, whereas
But I mean, that's the case with anyone, though. I mean, you can Google Hulk Hogan and look at all the shit you'll find on Hulk Hogan. So
but
it's like,
the thing is, it's after they did both. Well, I was gonna say someone else, but both Hulk Hogan and Sonny, they both did that post induction. That's the difference. So they had no control over that, but they're just trying to avoid a PR problem. Because especially nowadays, parents are going to be like, why did you let her into the Hall of Fame and my kid's Googling her and blah, 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 blah.
No.
And then they're gonna portray their irresponsibilities onto WWE.
I mean, you can say the same thing about shit that's happened even in wrestling. I mean, if you Google Triple H's name hard enough, you'll find a scene where he was mounting a dead body in a funeral home. I mean,
yeah.
So I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, you know what I'm talking about. You've seen that storyline.
That was Kane. That was in Triple H.
If you look at Scott Steiner, you see weird math that you should never teach your kids.
But I mean, either way, no matter who you search today, you're always gonna find something. I feel like it's just how things are.
I think a better analogy would be the parents that buy video games for the kids, like blindly, and like they'll get their kid a game that's like GTA 5, and they're like, "Hey, why is there nudity here?" And then like behind it on the ESRB it says nudity. That's the parent. That's the problem with the parents today, is that like they let their kid free to do anything, and they don't put safe searches on and whatever and whatnot. Like they don't look at games to see what the contents are. They just do it just to shut the kid up. And I think that's what WWE is trying to avoid, is the backlash from those type of things.
At the same time, it's like, look at all the fucking accomplishments that China has had in the WWE and the WWF. You can't, trying to take that away from her is just like a slap in the face to all the other fans that have supported her over the years.
Yeah. Well, I don't think that it's diminishing anything she's done. I think they're just trying to save face, because there will be a lot of what's the word I'm looking for? A lot of, like I said, a lot of backlash on that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, also they're bringing her in right now, part of DX. That's like, her name is already there. So now at this point, they might as well just go ahead and induct her as a solo entry as well later on.
They're inducting DX so they can avoid saying her name.
No, but her name is still there. I mean, it's not like they're censoring her name out and saying, vacant and showing a blank picture instead of showing it. They're showing her name, they're counting her as an induction. So now that you're doing that, why can't you give her her own solo entry as well?
Well, all I gotta say is that if China isn't really getting a solo entry, then Triple H shouldn't get one either, because I mean he's with that DX group essentially. So if he does in the future induct himself,
Triple H is gonna have 50 entries. He's gonna get one for DX. He's gonna get one for
GM.
Triple H. He's gonna get one for GM. He's gonna get one for the bastard father of NXT.
Oh God.
I'm literally just gonna see him pointing at clones of himself, just yeah.
So much factions.
So starting the
Evolution.
Gonna get one for starting the Jericho gimmick of Jericho inventing everything. He's gonna get an induction because he started AEW.
In WWE. We're giving it to Triple H because he started AEW.
He set Cody on the path to create AEW. Therefore, he gets the Hall of Fame induction.
That was me.
He also gets an AEW itself, even though he'll never be on the show ever. Just Cody and Kenny Omega. We would also like to induct our first ever Hall of Fame inductee before the show even before the whole promotion even starts. Triple H, because he created this.
And let's let's be honest here. The reason they inducted DX in this year is because they needed such a big name entry to try and cover up like all the shit show that this WrestleMania weekend has been for them. They've been struggling with access for how long, trying to put a venue on that. They've been struggling. They moved the date for TakeOver because of the ROH Supercard show.
Yep.
So now, the Hall of Fame is going against that show, right?
Yeah.
So they need something to try and steal fans away from that. So what do? You get DX. Obviously, that's going to take a lot of fans, like the hardcore fans, to try and take them away from that.
Or maybe it's just the fact that Triple H really just wanted to get into the WWE Hall of Fame.
I mean, he's going to have many years to do that.
Yeah, a lot of
Do it
opportunities.
multiple times.
Oh, yeah.
Now he's the COO, so he can do whatever the hell he wants. So, he could say, I'm going to put myself in today. And he's probably going to put himself into the Hall of Fame because he was the one that helped Vince McMahon start WWE. Like, that's going to be the story. Like, I think there was a meme where...
Just like he started NXT.
Yeah, like, I think there was like a meme of like a picture of Triple H's high school picture, and then to the right was Vince McMahon. And it said, one day, Paul Levesque, also known as Triple H, saw a young man struggling in the water, and he saved his life. That man would later become Vince McMahon. It's like the dumbest thing.
Oh, man.
That's the story they will tell you when he's being inducted into the Hall of Fame now.
Mm.
Oh, yeah.
But,
I can
yeah,
see Vince,
they needed a big name. I mean, they could have gone with Undertaker, in my opinion, honestly.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
this could have been the year they did that. Though I'm hearing talks of Undertaker supposedly met with AEW, from what I heard.
Damn, I thought he retired. Still.
I did too, but
I keep hearing that.
I also heard
saw him
rumors
at,
of him
Impact
talking with
Wrestling for
AEW.
some odd
So
reason. I saw him at Impact Wrestling. Like he had the banner in back of him. Like I was like, okay, this is really strange. Yeah, we're gonna see a Mark Calloway in AEW.
What was the other one? Oh, the Undergiver starts.
Undertale.
It was the Overgiver, not the
Overgiver.
Undertaker.
But I mean, yeah, I mean, I don't know where else they're gonna go with this year's Hall of Fame. So another rumor I've been hearing is the Hart family is getting in,
I'll be
like the entire Hart family, including Owen.
Yeah.
I doubt because Owen's wife is still animate about that.
That's what as far as I know. Yeah, she's still animate about him going in. But that's also the latest rumor I've been hearing that it was confirmed. But I haven't seen anything like on that yet. No, not Dave Meltzer.
We need Vince Russo in there, man.
Screw that guy.
Dave Meltzer and Vince Russo at the same time. People would explode. Their heads would just detach from their bodies.
I don't even want it.
They might as well induct Bleacher Report at that point.
Oh God.
Yeah.
All right, so I know it's been a little while, but what do you guys think of this whole new Daniel Bryan gimmick here, with the whole belt and trying to be an environmentalist in a sense? How do you think this is really working out for him so far?
I'm loving it personally.
I'm enjoying it. I think it's great.
Hilarious.
I mean, we've had this talk in the past where Daniel Bryan, is he technically a heel?
You're still riding that bus, aren't you, Moses?
Damn right I'm riding that
A lot of people have been debating that, though. Is he really a heel?
Ride that bus.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because think about it. He's telling you to do all the right things. Look both ways before you cross the street, and do everything that a New Yorker wouldn't do. He's telling you to
He's
do
basically
the right
teaching you to
thing.
not be a New Yorker.
That's the issue. I'm a New Yorker. You can't tell
How
me
dare
to
you
be
eat that hot
not
dog
be a
on
New
the
Yorker.
sidewalk vending?
Yeah, it's cool. I have to say, I'm on board. I think it's great. And it's just funny because this is, how over he would be if this was 1980s WWE, like he would be super over.
Man, yeah.
He would be. Oh god. But yeah, so it's kind of what I think here with the whole like, is he really a heel? I think it's just kind of like exactly what they were doing with CM Punk in the Straight Edge Society. It's that he's doing this whole way about telling you to do the right things, but he's like getting up in your face and he's like, do it, like do it or I'll kick you in the penis, like that kind of thing. Which actually he didn't technically say, but he's basically like like forcing it on you instead of like just trying to convince you to do it in a sense. Yeah. So I feel like that's kind of like what makes him heel. And like I've seen it before from a lot of people, like just saying like he's the bad guy. Like how is he the bad guy? It's like no, I mean like no, like his message is good. It's just how he's doing it that isn't. But yeah, I mean that's what I like about it though, because I like the CM Punk gimmick where he was telling people don't do drugs and don't be like don't go off and binge drink until like you're about to die, and then like basically he would just go off and be like do it or you're a bad person. It's like a completely different thing like here now because with Daniel Bryan, but it's kind of like the same way that he's doing it similarly to how CM Punk was doing this, but in a way of like just trying to be like a heel, but like telling you like a good thing. I kind of like that here. It's like a good message, but is it really like a it's like a good message, but he's doing it like in a bad way.
I agree. I
Moses, I have a question for you.
All right.
It's been mentioned before how me and you, we both have strong feelings about how the title gets treated. What were your thoughts when he threw the title into the garbage pail?
Oh boy.
Oh man, I'm not gonna lie. I was a little annoyed. I won't lie. I was a little annoyed. I mean, I can't like sit there and say like when we watch NJPW and I get all salty about it, but then if Daniel Bryan does it, it's all right because that'd be a double standard. But it's just like, oh god, so aggravating.
I agree. I mean, it irked the hell out of me, but at the same time, the way he did it, it did work perfectly.
No, it did.
Because
but
with his new title introduction, like the new championship that he introduced, it's hilarious in the first part. I mean, the belt itself looks like it looks ridiculous, but that's what makes it so great.
Well, it's definitely not as ridiculous as the Fruit Roll-Up Universal title, but
I don't know. It still looks. That's the sad thing. It still looks better than that. I mean, it looks better than the fucking spinner belt. It's not a bad looking title. It's actually a good looking title. Just the way he went about it is
Yeah, I'll never forget when he dropped the belt in and he talked about the leather belt and how this belt was made from a cow. Let's call her Daisy.
And then everybody was going,
Daisy enjoy her last moments of her life? No, maybe not. that was great. I love that.
It was a great segment, and the way he did it was hilarious.
I love the memes that were coming out when he said this belt is made from like 100% hemp, and then all of a sudden there were like these memes of like Matt Riddle, and he's just like,
I mean, the fact that AJ Styles came out and said, "Did you smoke that belt before you made it?" was also hilarious.
That whole segment, that whole segment just won the internet. Like there were the memes that were coming out from that were just amazing.
But again, it was a great segment itself. Throwing the title, come on, dude. But he got his message point across. It did work as a great heel move for him. See, that's a heel move.
Yeah,
you can't deny that one, Moses.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, there's just a certain way that you treat the title. It's just like I don't know, like it's embarrassed at me, but damn, man.
Hey, the man wants change, man. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I don't know. It's like
he's changing the world, damn it.
I mean, in a way, did he technically just throw a cow in the garbage? I mean, he's preaching. He's preaching
the skin of the cow.
you'd think he would have treated it with a little bit more respect since it was a cow, but
Well, it's
This is
already
the dead
dead,
carcass
so
of a cow. It's already
Daisy.
dead, so whatever.
I don't think there's much you could do with a carcass of a cow besides
Eat it,
put
maybe.
a gremlin. Exactly.
Make some hamburgers.
Mm.
Yeah, diseased meat. That sounds good.
Yeah.
So like and then he's also going around with Rowan too, and when I
Psycho Rowan.
yeah when I now like I
Yeah.
see Rowan and he's just like walking around now with like a flannel shirt on, like heavy metal t-shirt, jeans. He literally
I
looks
gotta-
like a
I
couple of
gotta
guys
give
from
props to-
college that I went went to college.
I gotta
with.
give props to Rowan to coming out with a metal shirt every week. As a metal fan,
Yeah, I know.
that gives me. Gotta give him a high five for that one. I mean,
Armin Amarath.
it's hilarious to me.
It's
Oh,
Armin Amarath, right? He comes out. with-
Amon Amarth he had
Amon
on.
Amarth,
He had an
that's
Al Storm on the other day, like
Oh,
2
yeah.
weeks ago. I think it's great. It's
I know, as a metal
hilarious.
fan myself too.
like,
I love it,
Instead of
too.
seeing him wearing a Daniel Bryan shirt, he's wearing metal shirts, and it's like,
If this
Great,
was
right?
TNA, I think we would probably even see them coming out with some, joints in their hands, just being.
Mm.
like,
If you want to get over as a heel, just wear a Nickelback shirt.
oh, God. And if you want to get fired from the WWE or just be made a laughing stock, wear a Maroon 5 T-shirt.
Oh God. I
Yeah.
don't know.
I mean, I don't know where they're like. I mean, I understand they're using Rowan as, and also that's also pushing Daniel Bryan as heel. You have Rowan attacking his opponents and interfering in the matches and stuff. That's another way to push Daniel Bryan over as a heel without making him a technical heel, as you say.
Mm.
But I mean, I really don't think that he needs Rowan. I think he's doing enough on his own. His gimmick's over. It's working, and just having an extra person out there just standing with him isn't adding anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's there just to get his Daniel Bryan's message more across, I guess. So, I mean, we'll see if he cuts any promos and kind of like to make that more evident. But yeah, he's just a bodyguard right now at this point. So.
Also, Rowan is another person to fall victim to Vince McMahon's name shortening. R.I.P. Eric.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that the gimmick is pretty cool. I think that having Rowan around is just going to add more to it. I know a lot of people were saying is Luke Harper going to come back, and then are they going to basically form a faction? And I was like, that's interesting too. But I think you're gonna have to clean up Harper a bit too, because I remember him coming out with that sweaty tank top and everything. You're basically gonna have to make
Ripped up tank top.
and Rowan was coming out with a Slipknot, like a green Slipknot jumper on. So I mean, I think that if they cleaned up Rowan, they can probably do the same thing with Harper. And that's also kind of interesting too that they had Rowan come back instead of Harper, because I remember Harper, he was getting a couple of pushes there. I remember he was IC champion as well once. And I was actually thinking that if they were going to have one of them come back, it was probably going to be Harper. But, Rowan came out of nowhere. So, and there's also talks of Bray Wyatt coming back as well, which I'm wondering when that's going to happen. But,
Yeah.
if the others come back, I mean, do you think that they're going to potentially form up a faction with Bryan?
I don't think so. I mean, I think it's just Rowan as a one-off thing. I think that if when they come back, it's just they're going to be doing their own thing. I don't think they need to connect them to. I mean, Rowan didn't even need to be connected to Daniel Bryan in the first place as well. But I mean, it's just a weird person to throw into that storyline, in my opinion. Rowan.
Well,
But
I
I
think
guess-
Harper still hurt, so know.
Yeah, I do kind of see where they went with Rowan though, because he is your average Joe guy. So they want to make it seem like everyone can do it, not just someone like Daniel Bryan or if they would have had someone like Almas, say, who fits that image. You want to be able to get someone that doesn't fit the image of what you would expect from that.
That's true.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the new Daniel Bryan. I can't say Daniel Bryan. It has to be the new Daniel Bryan.
It's new
For
to
you.
him.
So we also had some call-ups on Raw, and I believe that those same call-ups actually appeared on SmackDown as well. Dom, who were they?
Let's see. We had Ricochet, Aleister Black, Gargano and Ciampa. There was Heavy
Yeah.
Machinery? No, they already
they
made their
already up.
debut, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it was just
Yeah.
four of them.
Machinery.
Yeah, I think it was just
It
four
was
of
just
them.
them.
Yeah.
It was just them.
I don't know. See, my issue with this, again, it's the same thing we had with the Rumble. Was this an actual call-up, or is this just them bring him in for a match or something? Like, I think, for me, I think this was just them showcasing the superstars of NXT and what they have, because this is again, this is from what I heard. They have the deal with Fox coming up, so they're supposedly having an NXT deal where NXT is going to be broadcast on Fox Sports. So they want to get people to know the product and know the NXT superstars as well for when they make their debut. Because I mean, the casual fans that don't really watch, there's people. I mean, I don't watch NXT because that's just. I mean, I want to watch it. I just never get around to it. That's not my fault though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, same
But
here.
I know there are people that don't even know like that NXT exists, and like you want to try and get those people to start to get the hang of who the superstars are there for when they make their TV debut.
I mean, look at that crowd on Monday. There was like no pop for these guys at all. I mean,
And those were like the best guy, one of the best guys. You know, those four guys were probably the top notch. Well, actually, no, they are top notch guys.
They are.
Mhm.
That's
Yep.
And that's what another reason what I was saying was like, if they're all called up, what the fuck are they gonna do with NXT now? Like, if this was an actual call up, they really gonna have to like completely revamp the whole NXT right now because they just lost their entire like top division.
Yeah, I mean, like they've been
But they know
taking in
what
a
to do.
lot of talent, though. I think that they even have. They actually just took in a couple of new people into their developmental program as well. And like that's actually kind of what I was also wondering too, because we saw Ciampa and we also saw Gargano, and I know I don't. Well, I it's a spoiler, and I know Dom, you don't really watch NXT, so I guess I'll just say it right now. But Velveteen Dream actually wins the North American title. So. What I was wondering is that Gargano will probably eventually go up, and maybe he is actually going to be on Raw or SmackDown full time now. But Ciampa, he actually still has the NXT title, so I wonder if he's going to be going up soon, or if he's still going to be hanging around NXT for a little while.
Now I'm kind of disappointed that you said Gargano dropped the title because I thought they should have had Gargano and Ciampa both with their titles come and win the Raw Tag Team Champions at the same time.
Oh, well, actually no. So this is weird. So,
Didn't they
yeah.
film it? They filmed it just in case. Like they filmed it on two locations, two different finishes.
Oh,
What
so it
happened
didn't
was-
it didn't air. That didn't happen yet.
It didn't. Yeah, it didn't air. It didn't happen. Right now, as
So
we
you
know,
just spoiled it for the entire NXT
Yeah.
universe, not
Nah,
just me.
they already knew it if
Yeah.
they used Google.
It
Oh,
was
okay.
it was leaked out. It was leaked out.
Yeah, it was leaked out.
But
This was from the tapings and shit.
But
So.
this is from like the thing is, Dan, this was from weeks ago. This wasn't like yesterday. It was, even before. I think even way before the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
That they did that.
Okay, but either way, I think they should have both of them keep their titles and then win the tag team championship on Raw, because they just beat the Revival on Raw, which like in theory they should get a tag title shot from that. So you have them go in, you win. They have both belts and then the tag belts at the same time, and then they can either relinquish the titles, like their NXT respective titles, and then stay as tag champs on Raw, or you would have to see what they would do in that situation as well. But honestly, I think that's the best move for them to go with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then they also have a lot of predictions here that Aleister Black might actually be like the standout talent that just got called up. Like out of like the four that were, all called up, that they're predicting Aleister Black being the top guy.
All right. Well, the match with SmackDown, so I'm not gonna say anything because unlike Dan, I don't like to spoil things. So,
Well, I mean, you
What?
already did spoil stuff before. You just told me to
Well-
take my headphones out.
yeah, exactly, but
I mean, this is
pretty
not
sure.
my
You
own
said you don't
fault.
watch
I mean, I
NXT though, so
NXT.
NXT.
to the people that watch SmackDown, again, I didn't watch this week's SmackDown, but like usually I just look at reviews, like quick reviews. But the people that watch SmackDown, I would have to agree. Aleister Black may be the standout just because of SmackDown Live, and that's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, I agree. I saw it. It was pretty good. That's all I'll say, though.
What about Ricochet, though? I mean, isn't the hype?
Ricochet is fucking great. Ricochet, in my opinion, needs to stay in NXT though.
I actually thought it was a bit too soon.
He's gonna get fucking ruined.
Yeah, I thought it was a bit too soon.
I think honestly, It's funny like that I say this because like Ricochet is one of my favorite superstars, and I do not want him to come to the main roster. Because
honestly,
I know as soon as it comes up,
they need him in that.
Like he's gonna get fucking ruined.
Yeah,
like NXT is the place for him to be right now. If he's not I didn't want him to be signed with WWE and NXT to begin with, but if he's gonna be there, I'd rather him be in NXT and not on the main roster where he can actually showcase what he has.
Yeah, I think they gotta keep him.
I think that people were just like really like they just really wanted to see him. And they were just getting so anxious to see him on the main roster that they finally were just like, oh, okay, like let's just push him up now because like he's really like he's really hot right now, and he needs to get some attention right now. So like people like they need to see him. So I think that's like why they they.
But I think it was just a showcase thing, like I was saying earlier. He's gonna stay in NXT. I don't think that he's gonna actually come up. It's just showcasing that he's there for when people start to follow NXT more, and he's gonna be he's gonna get caught up eventually. But I think if anyone's getting called up, like actually getting called up, it'll be Gargano and Ciampa and Aleister Black.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or actually, it may be it may be Aleister Black and what's his face, Ricochet, because I heard that Gargano and Ciampa, they're both ring generals down in NXT. And when this girl got hurt, I forgot her name, but they were the guys that everyone looked for, for guidance. I forgot her name, but she got hurt, and she was supposed to win the Mae Young Classic. But they looked at her, and they actually, Gargano and Ciampa both helped her out, and then helped the locker room kind of build up their morale again. So if it would make sense for Gargano and Ciampa to stay down.
Yeah, that makes sense too. I mean, definitely if they're helping out the roster and if they really are playing that much of an essential part in NXT, then they really should stay down at least for a little while longer. I think that they're very well respected as well with the NXT locker room, and if they really need them that badly, then they really shouldn't call them up right away.
Yeah, I mean, it could also be just for ratings too. I mean, look at Raw and SmackDown's ratings. I mean, they could just use them for that, for a platform, but I honestly would keep Ciampa and Gargano in NXT. I mean, they're a mainstay at that company, so.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, also, I mean, you look at the amount of costs that they've done recently as well. Who is NXT gonna have left after all of this?
Yeah.
I mean, they're gonna keep Undisputed Era there for a while, I would think. Even though everyone wants them to come up, like
keep them there, please.
Once you bring out the Undisputed Era up, like who do you really have? I mean, you have Velveteen Dream there. You have, well, if Gargano and Ciampa stay, you would have them. But I mean, you're gonna have what? Matt Riddle's gonna have to take over as one of the bigger faces. Walter's NXT UK. They just signed him for, right? Not actual regular NXT.
Yeah.
Well, this is
Keith
where
Lee.
the roster.
Keith Lee's on the regular roster.
Yeah, he's in a regular roster.
Well, this is where the roster is gonna have to step up or step aside. That's it. I mean, it's inevitable. Like, these guys are gonna have to eventually get called up, because let's face facts. You got guys who are at the peak, at the twilight of their career, and then you got guys that are getting frustrated with the current environment of of WWE, and they want to leave. And they're in dire straits. I mean, not dire straits from a financials term, but from an entertainment perspective, they are in dire straits, and they're going to need a Gargano. They're gonna need a Velveteen Dream. They're gonna need an Undisputed Era, and that's when the fresher, the greener talent comes in, and they step up. And I hate to say it, but Triple H has a knack of picking out these people, So, I think that they're just gonna have to step it up. It's kind of like saying you're in a team, right? Let's say, we're all sports fans. Except I don't know if you're a sports fan, Dan, but
Yeah, I am.
all right. So the John Cena of the NFL, we can all say, is the Patriots. Everyone hates them because they always win. There's going to be a time, and I know this is primarily a wrestling, podcast, but, this is an analogy that I can use that kind of represents exactly what the locker room is going to have to do. But when Tom Brady retires, whoever is their younger quarterback is going to have to step up and pick up where he left off. And it's going to be tough. But they're going to have to do it. Just like when John Cena retires, someone's going to have to hold the mantle. Roman Reigns. Someone's going to have to hold the mantle of being the poster boy for WWE. And then when Roman Reigns retires, it's going to be handpicked again.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I think this is not the issue in the WWE right now, but it's the issue in NXT. I mean, WWE, the issue with bringing everyone up is now the roster is going to be oversaturated again. There's going to be how many people fighting for how limited of a spot that there is now. And then NXT is going to be wide open for the taking.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
yeah.
Here's my problem with NXT and WWE. There's no consistency in the universe. You had Gargano and Ciampa acting, like faces on SmackDown.
Mm-hmm.
And a week ago, Gargano says on NXT, I am not friends with Ciampa. I do not like Ciampa. I hate him. But then a week later, they're like best friends. It's like me and you, Dom, getting into a fight. And I say, that's it. I hate Dom. I can't stand him. I will never see him again. And then the next time, Dave sees us, we're just hanging out, drinking beer, having a good time. It's like, oh, wait, a week ago you said you guys hated each other? Like,
Wait a second.
How do you come with that?
No, that was a different universe. It doesn't count.
Yeah, wrestling can be funny like that sometimes.
Oh, God. I just had a picture of Vince McMahon's face photoshopped onto Thanos' body.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, God. I'll post it up later.
I think that's a great image to leave everyone with for this week's episode.
Oh boy.
So with that, be sure to watch out for that picture of Vince McMahon and fused with Thanos. We'll post it up later.
Mika Mahan.
Yeah. And we'll catch you next time on another episode of the That's Not the Finish podcast.
That's not the finish.
Not the finish.
The finish.